All right, Steve or Aubrey wants more upbeat. What's going on, everybody? Episode 10, we did it. We made it to double freaking digits, guys. Let's do it. Hey, this is a 20 to 40 podcast. I'm gonna be your freaking host today. Sirod, right? We here with Aubrey, Steven. I'm a retired federal police officer. I work for the Navy. I do HR right now. We'll leave it at that. Aubrey.
What's up, you guys? I'm a dad. Been married over 10 years, physical therapist, investor, trader, and also fitness and nutrition entrepreneur.
Hey, what up, everybody? This is Steven, and I'm just coming at you here as the, attorney on the panel, dad, married, and, just out here just bought my first home. So I'm here to just kick some nuggies.
Is this what you want, Aubrey? This Disney Channel ass shit?
I'm telling these cats, like, bring up the energy, bro.
Yeah, man. I'm so excited today. All right, listen, we got a heavyweight bout for you guys. All right. What y'all don't know is before the show, after the show, during the week, again, that's where like the nigga topic came from. There's a lot of beef going on. And then when we get on the show, we pick topics and they're a little bit more tame. So I'm hoping that this topic strikes up what I see before and after the show, which is two entrepreneur mentality, investing mentalities going at it with all the research and all the studying and all the numbers they got. I'm gonna have to sit this one out because I don't get too deep into this stuff. But these topics, these guys get passionate about it. This is how they've been successful in one way or another. And so basically, how do I phase this question? We're gonna start off with Steven. Really understands the market when as it pertains to GameStop, and Aubrey has been very successful with trading in his certain aspects. So what I want you guys to do is intertwine those and educate people on not just GameStop itself, but how that meshes with the larger market. And specifically, I think the debate started last time on how Aubrey trades and how that kind of opposes what you know when it comes to the market, specifically about GameStop, if that question makes sense.
No, it does. It does.
Okay.
Let me.
Why are you smiling already? It's like, all right, okay.
Because all right, this is the thing, man. Like, so I think everyone kind of is familiar with GameStop. Anyone that knows me knows I've already shaken them down to try to buy a share of GameStop. Only one share. That's all I ever told anybody. Hey, man, just buy some GameStop. One share is all you need, right? I think I probably hit you, Pat, to try to get a share of GameStop. And, when I got into GameStop, I really was just on the get rich quick scheme, right? I was like, you know what? Seeing all this blow up on social media, let me dive in it, right? Let me see if I could get it, right? Not understanding nothing, absolutely zero about the stock market, trading. I got Robinhood. I got Robinhood as the app, you know what I mean? And then and now I trade on Fidelity, but now I keep all my shares that I have in GameStop in ComputerShare, who is the registered agent to hold actual shares of GameStop through the direct registration system. But I say that to say, when I invested in GameStop, and I also invested in AMC, I think I invested in some Doge, BlackBerry, Nokia. I think everyone knows what it is. That's my first. So what I'm telling people is this is the first time I'm ever trading stocks in the stock market. And this is what I got. And then I started doing research or listening to, and seeing what people were putting out there, which they call due diligence, right? And you don't really realize what you're doing until it all comes to fruition, that you're doing exactly what everybody else does when it comes to the stock market. Everyone else is reading different, papers, charts, different people's analysis of different things that are going on, different news articles that are hitting. That's all the same. That you're doing the same thing with GameStop. Now, the difference is with GameStop is I think one thing that everyone knows is there was a lot of short interest on GameStop, which means people were betting that GameStop was going to go bankrupt. Mind you, the lowest GameStop has ever been was a penny stock at like 98 cents, 97 cents. It's now today trading over $23. Crazy. But this is the thing. When me and Aubrey were talking, it's funny because when I start talking, because now I'm so versed in just the knowledge of what capital market structure is. And this has nothing to do with GameStop. You just have to understand, if you don't understand the capital market structure system or the stock market or the bond market or all these things, how can you truly call yourself a capitalist? Because that's what capitalism is. It's the stock market. And you have to understand how that operates and how that then trickles into how stock prices are. And I'm buying a stock hoping it goes up. There might be another person on the other side of the trade that is shorting it, hoping that it goes down. And whatever way it goes is who's the winner, right? If it goes up for me, I'm the winner. If it goes down for Aubrey, he's the winner. And that's what happened in GameStop. Is they were it got short. Now this is the other thing that piqued my interest with Aubrey was he is a naked shorter, right? So you don't yet have those shares. You can put them on margin, right? And then once it gets to a certain point, they might margin call you and then you have to then provide it, or you just provide more capital to increase your margin, right? And so that's what happened in GameStop. That's why the price exploded to over $500 because there were shorts that were trapped on the other side that they had to buy. You had to buy. This is the thing about it. Shorts, when you close, you have to buy the underlying shares. You don't get to just say I'm out. You know what I'm saying? Or you blow up and they take all your stuff, and then someone has to buy that. You know what I'm saying? So say if a firm blows up, someone's got to buy that and say, okay, well then we'll take it. And then they just keep blowing up. That's the domino effect. That's what happened in '08. Okay, when people want to talk about the stock market crash, that's what happened to the great financial crash, right? Is the underlying loans were getting they weren't good anymore, and so people were blowing up, and they didn't have the money or capital to do it, so they would blow all their stuff, and then someone else had to buy it. That's why we had to bail them out, because then everyone was about to go under, right? And that's where we're at now with what I believe with the stock market. But that is that is just the premise of GameStop, but that is what sparked it. And I can let Aubrey just, that's the background of what Pep was talking about. And if you want to just, say your side, that's cool. I want people to know what you really are, not just my.
Got it. So let me just chop you up real quick and finish the GameStop conversation real quick. So GameStop has been facing, and I'm not against GameStop, but this is what I've learned in investing. You've got to understand what the underlying is. So GameStop has been facing a lot of headwinds because of people's transition to buying digital downloads versus going into a location. I've had 2 commercial leases, right? Fitness and nutrition places, and I had a nutrition bar. And I noticed people's habits did change as going out. So that's what GameStop is facing. And, the meme stock thing, I got caught in the meme stock stuff as well. But what happens is you got to really be focused on what the stock is in. Like, people think the stock market is just like ticker symbols and going up or going down and like gambling. The stock market is about owning partial ownership in companies. And are those companies growing? Are they producing profits? Are they on a right trajectory, right? So that's really what you want to think about, because there's that stat that we just found, right? That said $100,000 in 2020 is worth, it has the buying power of, you would need $124,353 in 2025. That means that the dollar has lost 25% of its value. So just to give you guys an example, if you were making 100K in 2020, if you're not making over 124K in 2025, you're making less buying power wise, house, food, bills, right? Not to mention you want to be making more, right? So what that means is the dollar, I think, what did you say? Since 1970, a dollar is now worth 7 cents. Yeah. That same dollar.
Yeah.
So you got to understand what happens is, and it did come from the great financial crisis, but it's come from a lot of things. In the 1970s, the U.S. decoupled the dollar from gold. Before that, it was on what's called a gold standard, meaning that there was always a fixed amount of gold per dollars. What happened as the deficit got bigger, meaning government spending, wars, social programs, they couldn't keep because there was only so much gold. So what they did is, I believe it was Nixon decoupled the dollar from gold, So now what happened is they could print as many dollars as they want because they're not limited by gold. So that's what starts to happen. That's what inflation is, right? We were talking about before this, like $20 bill could get you 6 people eating at McDonald's, plus had to get a little bit of gas and maybe have space for a Pepsi on the way back, right? Now you don't get out of the gas station with $20. It's usually $50 to $70. Not to mention if you got a truck, it's $100. I remember seeing people's gas at this gas pump being what used to be a car payment. Like $120 was a car payment. What you mean? That's because dollars have gotten watered down. So I say that to say what the stock market is where businesses have their ownership equity. So GameStop might have a certain amount of shares that own that company, right? Just like AMC, the movie theaters, just like Fox News, just like NVIDIA, which is, creates AI chips. So with that, right, one of the things that I've learned is, number one, to protect your buying power and hopefully grow it, right? If you want to create financial independence where your ownership in things, that's what capitalism is. You provide the capital that provides the opportunity to build things like businesses or ownership in assets that create cash flow for you, that you don't have to go to work every day. Your assets are working while you don't have to create that freedom for you. That's what capitalism is, right? And the capital markets or the stock market is how we have that ownership, right? So one thing that I've seen is that as you're making money, you need to have this money go to work too in things that will keep pace and overly outpace inflation. And they've done studies that the stock market is the best place for that. Now, does the stock market have wild swings? Yes, because it's also highly influenced by people's emotions of greed, fear, mistakes in policy, like the great financial crisis when a lot of mortgages were not getting backed up by payers because they were loaning it to everybody. 2020 COVID, they printed a lot of money, and then they did what's called quantitative easing, where the government actually bought stocks. But one thing you got to look at is that a lot of the world is invested in stocks now. So where does a lot of the world's government have a invested interest in keeping afloat? Stocks, through businesses. So where do you want your money working at? Where the government wants to win or where you want to win? Now, one thing I learned, and it's not against GameStop or anything, because I lost a lot on individual stocks, is I don't buy individual stocks anymore. I buy what's called index funds only. Index funds are a basket of stocks. Number one is the S&P 500, top 500 companies in America. This is NVIDIA, Ford, Apple, Microsoft, Tesla, Meta, all these together in one thing, right? That's what I buy, so I don't have to try to pick, because I lost when I was trying to pick individual stocks. And it's just a winner, it's just so hard to pick because you could be right, but you could be right in 2 years. So your money's tied up for 2 years. So that's one thing I learned. And the biggest thing you got to understand is that it's all a game. It is. It's all a game. Stock market's a game. Real estate's a game, right? Collecting basketball cards is a game. Shoe collectors. It's all a game. What you're trying to do is you're trying to have your money keep pace and hopefully beat inflation so you have something to show for it. Now, all you got to choose is what game you want to play. And I think that goes where your knowledge is at. Some people are really good at real estate, like Sirod's a realtor, right? He knows the game. What areas are coming up? Where can he get the best deal? Where is your knowledge going to give you that upper hand? I think that's where you also got to ask yourself, where am I willing to learn about and master, spend some time in, and then use that knowledge to give me the upper hand in this game. So that's the biggest thing.
And this is what I'll say, okay? I will never buy another stock as long as I live other than GameStop. Like, I'm done in the stock market.
That's the question that I'm trying to figure out. When we do talk about it off camera, it's like Aubrey and Sirod with this trading in the stock market and the diversity, and you're kind of like I don't understand, why is that one so much better? And you guys were talking about the net sheets, and not actually owning shares. I mean, and my response to that, and then I'll let you go, was basically like, okay, well, I see people making hundreds of thousands of dollars every day. I'm trying to copy them. I'm trying to follow them. So why do I care about your truth serum of charging forward with GameStop? Why do I care about that if I'm trying to make 100,000 a day? I ain't talking about a week. It's guys who are making 100,000 a day. So why are you so stuck on what you know and what you learned about GameStop, and that opposes what the way I trade lightly, but what Aubrey trades strongly?
And I guess I don't knock anybody, right? I just think from what research I've done, right, on just how this whole plumbing of the stock market works is, I think people should research it, right? Go look up the plunge protection team and what that is for the government, that the government can print unlimited amounts of money to funnel it into the stock market to keep prices from collapsing. Just think about how many times you've seen the stock market last 5 years take enormous dips, right? Enormous dips. And everyone's like, oh, here comes the crash. And it might be true, right? It might be true. And then all of a sudden it just goes all the way back up, right? It's because the government is literally allowed to, after 2008, through this plunge protection team, to print money from the treasury and stick it straight into the stock market to make the money go right back up. That's also inflationary, right? When you print more money, that causes inflation to go up. $2.2 trillion during the COVID, right? The COVID CARES Act, right? $2.2 trillion. A lot of that, half a billion, was PPP loans that the government forgave, right? That's going to be inflationary in the system. Doesn't matter. That's why they're raising interest rates, right? They're raising interest rates to try to get people to growth to slow down, people to stop spending stuff so they can get inflation down, because everyone knows after COVID, everyone was buying, right? Buying. People should go look up Seed and Company. Seed and Company is actually who owns all the shares in the stock market. You don't own any of your shares. You know how I know? Anyone have a certificate, a share certificate?
Who are you talking to?
just you guys, but people in general, whoever's listening to this. If you don't have a share certificate, back in the 1920s, when they were sharing, before everything got digitized, you had to have a share certificate to show that you had ownership. That's why when you saw it was like, I have all these shares and they're all in paper. Yeah, that's how you get them. Seed and Company, through the DTCC, who basically controls the whole system, digital system of trades of you sell and trade. They're supposed to have buys and trade. Just know there's a lot of fraudulent shares out in this system because it's all digitized. Okay. They do have a CAT system now that does register after every day how many it does, but no one pays attention to it. People should also go and look up Aladdin. We were talking about AI a couple episodes ago. Look up Aladdin. Aladdin is the AI trader for most of the trades. It holds $22 trillion to $25 trillion in trades. You're not trading with people anymore. The only people trading as people are retailers. Okay? We're the only ones. The big firms, people that have their financial stuff, like all these big firms, Family Plan, Wall Street people, JP Morgan, all these people that trade on these big things, they use AI. All the prices are manipulated through Aladdin. Go look it up. It's not even up for debate. There's a video about Aladdin that they put out about Aladdin on how they can control stuff. They want a price to go somewhere, whether it's up or down. They tell Aladdin, and it makes it happen. So that's why when we talk about it, because at the end of the day, with GameStop is, they are turning around their business. They have almost $10 billion in cash. They've been profitable for the last 6 quarters. They are moving into collectibles and items and trading, not just to pump GameStop, but just from where it was to a dying brick and mortar store. They have changed the game to try to do stuff. Because yes, a lot of people do buy digitally. But I'll tell you one thing about digital games, okay? Where can you sell, buy, and trade digital games? You can't, right? So if you buy a digital game and say you get a new, I just switched from Xbox to PS5. I can't take that game digitally to PS5. I got to buy a whole new game. So what do? If you buy a physical game, which, one place that you can get cheap physical games from is GameStop, you can then trade that game back in and have some type of money for it, rather than buying a digital game where there's no trading value for it at all. And they have exclusive, Switch 2s. You can only get them from GameStop. And so I'm not saying this to pump GameStop, but the bet is those shorts that were short in 2020 and 2021, the federal government already did their thing through it and showed that no one actually covered or closed any of their shorts. So all those shorts are still out there, and they're going to have to close. So if the price of GameStop goes up, I'm betting with my shares that it's going to go up. And then when the shorts then have to cover because it's getting too expensive, like it did in 2021, the price is going to shoot up again. That's all I'm betting on. And it's already happened once. And that's when the business was dying. The business is way better now, ran by Ryan Cohen. Can you name me an actual CEO that actually takes zero pay for a year? Like he takes $0 to run GameStop. When you have some people out here with failing businesses on these S&P 500 companies making tens and 20s and 50s of millions of dollars. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, look, and it's not to knock it. You guys can do what you want. I'm just saying, I think the market is fraudulent, and I don't want to participate other than this one thing. If it hits, it hits. And this is what I'll tell you about the stock market. Don't bet whatever you're not willing to lose. Because I put all my money, however much money I put into GameStop, I'm willing to lose it all. We're either going to the moon or we're going to zero. Either way, it's cool with me. It's okay to take some L's, but if the payoff is there, cool. But it's going to be a little risky. So be it. I'm down for a little bit of risk. And with the knowledge that I gained in education and just the system, Ryan Cohen said it this week, shorts are going to have to close. At some point, they're going to have to close. And we'll see.
I guess what throws me off about that is, like I said, if you can name any established system in the world that's not fraudulent or scam driven or some power that be is, our politics, our school system, our medical system, if you can name anything. So to me, that's why it's like the exclusion is like, and that's your prerogative, us jumping in. But I think when we get into the debate is because sometimes the argument turns into not your prerogative, but sometimes like it just seems so like all that is just so far gone and falling apart. I don't know why you guys, are in it. Like you don't actually own the shares and, all those things that were coming out. And I'm just sitting back listening like, yeah, they're really informative. But like I said, it's no different from our scammy ass college system where these kids are paying triple, actually quadruple what me and Aubrey paid to go to SDSU to get that same whack ass education. Like, so nothing really, falls in line as straightforward and makes sense and something that's trustworthy. So that's where it's just interesting from my perspective, where I'm like, and I think we said it before we got on the recording, where I was like, well, sign me up. Sign me up for as many scams as like make a list, please. If the stock market's one, thank you. Because if it's scammy and not truthful and then it just lets me know that I need to find out how these people are scamming and playing the game so that I could play with them, because nothing's, the military, promotions at XYZ company, like nothing is straightforward. So to me, I'm like, shit, well, how do I get a piece of that pie,
Yeah, I think the biggest thing to understand is that in this world created by us humans, there's going to be things that are created that aren't perfect. That's just how it is, right? Like you said, the military isn't perfect. Politics isn't perfect. Healthcare, I'm in healthcare. Healthcare isn't perfect, right? They wait until people are already sick to try to help them, which I'm like, what the? Like I got patients who are about to die eating pizza. I'm like, what the? Right? So it's like, you got to understand that there's not anything really that's perfect because it's man-made and nothing we make is perfect 100% of the time, every time, forever. But one thing you got to understand, and I think this is also your background, Stephen, has you thinking about this different. You have a pension, right? So you have something for your retirement. So the stock market doesn't have to work out for you. You would still be okay. 90%, 95% of people don't have a pension. I don't have a pension, right? So what is our plan for financial freedom, right? Because one thing you got to understand is that right now, if you have a job, you're working with human capital. You're human capital. You're not going to be able to work forever. Health impacts, I got family, right? You just need time. You can't work forever, but you're always going to need food, shelter, right? Basics of life. So how are you going to be able to pay for life when you can't pay for it by working? You've got to find your investment vehicle. Now, stocks isn't the only vehicle. There's real estate, right? There's gold. There's, right, precious metals. There's other vehicles. But one thing that doesn't work that we've learned is leaving your money in dollars or any currency. No currency in the history of the world has ever survived indefinitely, right? If you look back into the past, there were coins in Rome and Greek. They're not here anymore, right? India had its own currency. China had its own currency. Like, it doesn't last forever because they're created into money by governments. And when that government no longer has power, right, the Roman government can't come and tell you to use its currency right now in the US. The only reason dollars work is because the US government says dollars work. Okay? So you got to understand that's the game we're in. We're in the game where dollars work. Now, if you know about BRICS, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, Saudi Arabia, they're working on creating their own currency where they don't have to use dollars. What's going to happen then? Things are going to change with the dollar even more. Okay, so then we've got to understand what is our vehicle to have our dollars working to create more dollars and outpace the decline in the dollar. Businesses. That's what the stock market is. Now, one thing I've learned is I don't bet on one horse in the stock market is because it is all betting. Nvidia's a bet, Apple's a bet, even getting $1 is a bet on the US government. Bet on GameStop. You working for North Dakota is a bet on the state of North Dakota's economy. Because if that state were to go bankrupt, they wouldn't be able to pay your pension. Hopefully it would go to the government, the federal, and but what if the federal went bankrupt? Then you wouldn't have a pension. So everything we do is a bet. We just got to try to educate ourselves on what's the best bet for us and we're willing to be okay with. Now, I've learned that for me, my best bet is in the stock market, broad-based, and not trying to time the market, right? Not trying to get in and out and find the highs and lows because nobody has been ever able to get in and out at all the right times. So if I can get my money in working in a broad-based index fund and let it and keep adding to it, I have a better chance than if I just keep it in my mattress or if I just hope and pray that, maybe I'm good to work till I'm 100, which both probably aren't going to work. Now, that's one thing I do. And I was talking to, Sirod and Steven about the hard thing about trading because, like you guys have probably seen on social media, there's people that make money trading, a lot of money. There's also people that lose a lot of money. The thing with trading is twofold. Number one, you got to be willing to learn. Number two, you've got to be willing to take your earnings and put it to work. And that's the hard part, right? Can you go work for a month? And let's say you make $5,000. Are you going to be willing to take $2,500 of that for 3 months in a row and put it into account and just see numbers on a screen rather than going to get some new Jordans, going out to eat, going to that trip? Because those things feel better, right? I made money in the stock market a day that I could go get a G-Wagon and pay for the monthly on one day. And that would feel good because I could post it on the gram and I could get the likes and I could have my people saying, damn, he's successful, he got it. And that would feel good to me because who doesn't want to be felt like a success and looked at their peers positively? Everybody does. It's human nature. But then I don't have that money to trade and I don't have that money for freedom, right? To not have to work forever. We want to have more children. When the children come, I want to be here. And then I want to drop down to working 3 days a week, then 2 days a week, then not having to work. I want to buy my freedom. So that's the harder part is number one, you got to be willing to have that discipline, that delayed gratification to get that money to work. Then once it is working, you got to be willing to learn the skills of investing in trading. So I say I'm an investor in trade because I invest, right? I have my money in investments with index funds, mostly, S&P 500, NASDAQ, and some total stock market. And then I do trade, and there's different ways to trade, right? You can try to catch the momentum of a trade, which you got to be really time sensitive and know how to read the charts and willing to take the risk because it moves fast up and down. That just wasn't my temperament. You got to also know your temperament. I didn't like that. I felt like it was gambling, and I couldn't be at the computer all morning because I work. The way I trade is what Steven called is naked puts. I trade. I've learned in all the years. I took a course when we were in LA, kind of learned the basics, and then I learned how I like to trade, because you're going to have a certain way of investing. And maybe if you trade or whatever you do, just like real estate, some people like apartments, some people like multi-unit. What do you like? That's what you got to learn. I trade in the way of, I bet that the stock market on certain Magnificent Seven, like Nvidia, Microsoft, Apple, the big ones, I bet that if they go down, I'll buy it at the lower price. And if it doesn't go down, or if it does, I still get paid on what's called an option contract. The key is, if it does go down, I got to have the money ready to buy. And that's where the discipline came in, right? There was a time when Bitcoin went down and I had to be able to have like 40,000, 50,000 ready to buy. And I did. But I had to be doing that for 8 months to have the discipline to move that money. So when the crunch came and it was like, you need to buy at this price, I was ready. And then I bought in, and then I sold it when it rebounded and made money off the option up, called a call. Right? That month I made over $13,000 in trading. But I had to be ready and disciplined and not panic. Now, what we were talking to Stephen, like, what were those imaginary losses? It was imaginary. It's kind of like saying that,
What would it have
did you
been?
lose money when Jordan went on sale? Didn't you buy it at 150? It went on sale for 99. Didn't you lose money? Well, it went back to 175 now. Jordans are 200 now. I only lose money if I panic or don't have the money. But if I have the money and I don't panic, I win every time. Most times, not every time.
Or you lose if it keeps going down.
Yes.
Yes.
This is how you work it. You work it on like probability. So let's say 8 times out of 10, it does work out. But 2 times out of 10, it doesn't. Now, if I play 5 times, I could hit my 2 times in my first 5 and be knocked out. But if I keep playing 9 times, I win 80 and lose 20. So I'm really down 60.
But that one down could be a one bad loss. It can wipe out all of it. Like that's the thing.
It could.
Yeah.
It could.
Yes.
But that's why you got to have the money to be ready for that.
Yeah, you got. Well, like I said, you have to be. You have to close. There's no option for you. Like when it's time, when it hits, yeah, you better have the money ready to go, right? Or what are they going to do? See, okay, now this is what I want you to explain. Yep. What if you don't have the money to go?
Then get your ass off that street.
This is just for full disclosure for people. You got to tell me your perspective. And this is why we talked about this. Because what I talk about GameStop is who I'm trading against. Not saying that you're betting against GameStop, but what I'm saying is what your tactic was the same tactic in GameStop that allowed it to fly to 500. So what I'm asking you is, now that you told us what you do and how it happens, what happens if you do not have the capital when you are required to have the capital? What imaginary thing could happen or happens in that?
It's kind of like when your mom told you, stay your ass in the house. Like, you shouldn't be playing the game. Nobody told you.
That's not an answer. That's not an answer.
I'm not telling nobody to trade
the kitchen's
when they
too
got
hot.
$50 in their account.
Cooking on the stove. No, I want to know what happens if you. Okay,
you Aubrey, go broke. That's what
Aubrey, it kept going down. You had it at 150. It's at 100, and you were supposed to pay at 115. Where's my money? What happens?
You lose money.
Yeah, but if you don't have it, what happens?
You lose a lot of money. So that's why I learned
and this is why I am so in on GameStop. And that is why when we had that conversation the other day, I told you I will never, ever sell my GameStop because of this conversation right here. I know, because take it out of GameStop. This is what I learned. That's what I'm saying. This is just the market, period. It could be any stock. Aubrey,
but you got to understand, though.
Any stock. He does it on a broad basis.
No. So let me break it down for you.
Wait, hold on. I let you talk. Come on. Hold on. I let you talk. Let me just get this out.
Get to your topic.
I'm going to give it back to you. Don't worry. I'm going to give it back. I promise you. I'm going to give it back to you. But this is what I'm saying. When I talk to you about this and you told me what it is, I know it. This is what I'm studying. I understand it. And I know that if GameStop goes too high, it's going to break some people that are doing what you were doing. And once those people break, you have to buy it. You have to give the money to buy the underlying shares. And when that happens, that's what's going to cause it to go even further. And then you're going to kill shorts that have even more than you and more. And it keeps going and it keeps going because you know who holds the bag at the end of the day. And this isn't just you, because you're gambling with your own money. We're talking about a whole stock market system based in Wall Street that has millions of people that are doing these things on a daily basis. And it's not just what you're doing in naked. We're talking triple, quadruple, quintuple leverage on short positions. There is more money that is going to be owed that actually exists in a stock market on the globe. So who's going to pay it? You know who has to pay it if everyone defaults, especially someone like a market maker who holds about 70% of all the trades that go down on Wall Street? Citadel, right? They're Ken Griffin. Go look it up. You can just go look up what they do. They're the ones that have all the fraudulent stuff. They're the ones that control the system to make sure it balances. But there's imbalances, and that's why they get so mad. And you know what happens when all these people have to go bankrupt and don't have the money to pay it? The federal government is the one that has to print the dollars out to bail them out. That's why they've been bailing out all these big cats on Wall Street since 2008, 2000. Every great crisis we've ever had, they bailed them out with taxpayer-funded dollars. And when they bail them out, it's because they don't want people to win. People were going to win. American people were going to win, but they stopped it all. Yeah, you know what? For everyone that lost their house in 2008, just go research how many people got billions of dollars off of their losses. Billions of dollars. And that's why I don't play the system. It's not because morally, I just think, hey, man, if the little guy can win, 80% of all the stocks on Wall Street are owned by the 1%. So if you think, and you were talking probabilities. If we're talking probabilities, what's the probability of me, Steven, trading on Robinhood is going to hit it big one time? They won't let you. The game is rigged for the rich. And that is, and where we fundamentally change that is people believe that capitalism is the best system in the world. I don't think so, which is fine. Because we don't have true capitalism. Because in true capitalism, if a business was to go bankrupt, you would not bail out with public funds of private business. That business would go out and the market would then bring in another business that could do it better. We don't have that. We have monopolies. In capitalism, there shouldn't be monopolies because the market is what drives the innovation. What we do now is we allow some of the biggest companies, the ones you listed, Meta, Apple, all of them. Yeah, they do a lot of buying of companies, not to innovate their product and grow Apple, but to stymie competition that could stop them from being dominant. Kind of like how the US treats China. Because if everyone could go out and buy a BYD for like 20 grand and could go from New York City to Miami on a single charge, I guarantee you there wouldn't be a damn Tesla in America.
Yep.
So let me just let you know something.
Take your time.
Number one.
Now people are seeing what we do.
Number one, what you're talking about is still what you're betting on. You just bet on it through the federal government and the state government. Because they do manipulate the money supply. But that's how North Dakota is going to pay you your pension. But that's the bet. I get it. That's the bet. So is it perfect? No. But it is the best. We've seen that socialism doesn't work. Communism definitely doesn't work. So what tends to happen just in human nature that I've seen is like the difference that I've seen between Democrats and Republicans is Democrats usually want social systems and things to help them. And then as people start to make money and like build something and start to become like more wealthy, they tend to move over to this, like, this is mine, you help yourself. But then the people say you need to give some of that back. And what capitalism it tries to do is bring it to the middle, right? Let's give the opportunity for people to build something, but then also let's help people that need that help, which I get. I think we need the balance of the middle. But one thing you got to understand is that these are the games we have to play. There isn't another game in town. It's like saying, well, basketball is too much jumping, your knees get messed up. Well, okay, basketball, football, and soccer are the only games in town. You got to choose what you're going to choose because that's all that's there. Okay, so now if we know that, yes, they do manipulate the money supply. Yep. They use it to uplift and hold the stock market. Yep. So where do you want your dollars at? Being uplifted by the federal government? Yep, because that's the strongest game in town. Okay, so now you got to know that's the game we got to play. You got to learn how to play it. It's kind of like, I don't really like to work because I don't want to be able to pay for stuff, but I like having a house. I like having food. All right, well, I got to play the game in town called wake up, go clock in, work, and make sure I produce. So knowing that, you got to master the game. Yes, they do it to float the stock market because the thing is with the stock market is it can be swayed a lot by emotions and incidents, okay? And yes, it will be pumped up, but that's where I want my dollars at. I want my dollars to be pumped up by the biggest, strongest game in town. Because at the end of the day, when I'm trying to protect my family and build something, I'm not trying to say it was the best game in town or the most, the one with the least faults. I'm just trying to have it work. Okay? The biggest thing you got to understand is that what you're betting on is important. So GameStop has had a 30% decline in sales year over year. In 2024, they had to close 600 stores. I don't have any issue with GameStop. But what I'm saying is that's the issue when you're betting on the underlying GameStop. That's why I wouldn't buy GameStop stock, right? I bet on Bitcoin and Magnificent Seven. Why? Bitcoin has now been adopted by major governments, U.S. Reserve, Brazil, major companies are using it. States are adding it to their pension fund. So now you've got this massive adoption by a lot of people that want it to work, that are going to help it to work. That's where I want my money. So if it does go down, I want to buy in more. That's number one. Number two, other ones I do, NVIDIA, Apple, Tesla. Okay, you've got Apple, number one company in the world until NVIDIA just passed that $4 trillion, which is leading the AI revolution. Do I think things are moving towards AI? Absolutely. So that's where I want my money. What I learned from trading is I used to do the unsafe bets because it paid more. It paid more to bet on GameStop and bet on AMC and bet on Lucid. I lost. So I learned I need to bet on bigger bets that might not pay as much, but to have a better chance of working out because I did my research. I did my research on what is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the blockchain. Blockchain is a visible global file that updates every time people's Bitcoin gets updated into their wallet. So it's very visible. It's kind of like social media. The thing with social media now, there was a point in time when there was 3 stations, NBC, ABC, and CBS. So let's say the thing that just happened with the couple cheating, right, on the big Coldplay screen, right? That's everywhere right now. Let's say that CEO said, ABC, NBC, CBS, I'll give y'all $500,000. Don't show that video. Cut. We never see it because there's only 3 outlets. But now with social media, that video went to 10,000 profiles like that. It can't be stopped because he can't reach out to those 10,000 profiles and say, hey, don't show that video. That's what the blockchain is versus the current monetary system where the Federal Reserve controls the dollar. That's one point of entry for control. With the blockchain, it's controlled by the nodes. The nodes, every time a new coin, a Bitcoin coin is made, it has to be computed in this very complex mathematical system that only a supercomputer can do, and then verified by more than 50% of the other nodes. It was only vulnerable early in the blockchain, early in Bitcoin, because let's say there's only 20 nodes. They could hack 10 of them. But now there's 500,000 nodes. They can't hack 250,000 nodes at one time. So the safety in the group has grown. I did my research behind the technology. That's how I knew to bet on it. And I also knew, wait a minute, the U.S. is starting to adopt it. Trump wants crypto. All these countries are starting to add it to their Federal Reserve. Companies are I was like, adoption. The last hurdle it had to get over was adoption, people using it. Once it had that, it was gone. That's what I'm betting on. So it's not just betting. Everything is a bet. What are you betting on? The possibilities and probabilities. And then having that money to withstand if it does hit. Yes, I had to have 40, 50,000 ready. I had to work for that. There were so many months where I could have went and got a car. I could have went to Cancun on a weekend trip. I could have eaten out at steak dinners. I had to be like, nope, I'm eating in, right? I'm putting that money into deposit to be ready for the opportunity when it came. So,
Final thoughts, Steven?
No, I would have people go watch 2 movies. Okay, one would be The Big Short, which basically goes over what happened in the 2008
yep.
great financial crisis, and I'd also have them watch Margin Call, which is what happens when you don't have the capital to uh, uh, fulfill your margin. Right? It's a movie about being margin called. Those are 2 movies I would tell people just to go. You don't have to know anything about the stock market. Okay, you have to know nothing. It actually would be a good like entryway to see how things happen. Um, what people have to realize is in with Bitcoin, yes, there's a blockchain and people show it. I would have people also go research crypto scams, right? Like crypto firms like FTX, right? Crypto.com was a scam, okay? Which doesn't the Heat, who has the Crypto.com building?
Lakers.
The Lakers, right? Scam, right? They did. Go look that up. Go look up Binance and what happened with that CEO who did a lot of the cryptocurrency. Go look up Coinbase. Okay. What people have to realize there's a thing that people use in crypto. It says if it's not your keys, then you don't own it. Okay. So if you're buying into these things that saying that, oh, buy through us and then we'll have the underlying cryptocurrency for you, but you're hoping that they also have it. Because you know what has also been happening to a lot of people, that these runs of cryptocurrency that have been going on, right? Like when they want to go and sell it, can't sell it. That's crazy, right? Kind of like when GameStop had the buy button and they wouldn't let you buy anymore, right? When everyone was going to go buy it, what they do? Because they knew if people bought in it, it was going to make the price keep going up and the shorts were going to be even more screwed. So they turned off the buy button for the first time ever in the history. They have turned off sell buttons. They've never, in the capitalist structure market in this country, have they ever turned off a buy button to buy stocks, only to turn it off to sell. But you know what they do on cryptocurrency? It all kind of depends on what's going. If it's going up and people want to sell to make money, don't let you do it. It's going down, it's tanking, and you want to jump back in and buy some? Yeah, that's crazy. Can't buy some. That's wild. What are they doing, right? People have to be smart in understanding that the only way that you own anything in the stock market is what I did with GameStop, is directly registering your shares. So then you are the actual owner of the share. So your name goes into a book that is held at the for me it's GameStop, any company's book. This is because it's not just about GameStop. GameStop is one company on the stock market. This is for every single company. So everything I'm saying doesn't just pertain to GameStop. It pertains to the whole stock market because it participates in it. So your name will go down if you directly register your share to the registered agent, which every company has a registered agent that you can hold your shares in your name. And your name goes down as a book owner in the book of that company. So say something crazy happens in the stock market and they need to actually verify who owns actually what shares. You know who gets verified first? The people that are actually in that book, because they actually have to, whoever you get it, I go through Fidelity. So whoever your broker is, they will send over your share to the registered agent. The agent will mark that, put that in the company's thing under your name. So your voting rights, all your stuff. If you just hold your stuff in Fidelity like I used to, or Robinhood or any of those things, what you're owning is you are a beneficial owner, okay? Fidelity owns your share on behalf of you, and they allow you to vote and do all that stuff. But at the end of the day, if you have to go and file a lawsuit in securities law with the SEC or something about your shares not being whatever, guess what? You don't have property rights to bring that lawsuit. It has to be brought upon your broker. So like Fidelity for me, they would have had to bring it upon me. And do you really think that the brokers want to sue companies and Wall Street firms and Wall Street execs? No, because guess who else used their platforms? The Wall Street firms and the Wall Street execs. Like, that is the game that you're in. It's manipulated. It's been there forever. And, the fact that a lot of people don't have pensions is specifically to the reason that Wall Street was gambling our parents' and grandparents' pensions funds in the stock market. And every time we had those great 2008, 2000, all those things, it wiped them all out. So it's ordinary people like us that are getting screwed in the stock market one way or another. And so, yes, I believe it is the only game in town is to go there and do that. I get it. But at the same time, you also have to know that the game is made for you then to take your money. There's a reason why the transfer of wealth after COVID has been ridiculous. People have gained, like, I think the richest people gained 37 trillion, while the bottom has lost like 35 trillion. Like, that is what capitalism is. You extract wealth from people to give to you so you have more. Like, that's it. And I just don't think that that's the best. Because if we look at China, China has what? Very low homeless population. They have billions. They have almost 1 billion people. They have virtually no poverty because the government takes care of them. And I get it. Yeah, we could talk about the policies of this and that. But put it this way. We have a ton of homeless people. Our healthcare system here is horrible. And childcare costs are through the roof. Our education isn't the greatest. Look at the literacy rate. Half of the adults in our country can't even read at an 8th grade level. Okay, so that is what we're dealing with. But we're also the richest country on the face of the planet. But we can't take care of any of our people, while other countries may be doing it better and actually innovating better. But this is where we're at. We have to play in a rigged market in order to try to hope that we can fulfill something. And that's why until this market crashes, which it's due to crash, it's a cycle, right? Like, I sent you that they overlaid the 2008 crash with what's happening now. And it's damn near on. I sent that in the group chat. And it just looks crazy that that's where it's going to go. But this is also the one thing I would just take issue with what you said about the Fed being, the federal government. But we're in $37 trillion plus in debt. We can't keep printing money. So if you think we're just going to keep printing money to prop up the stock market, it's impossible, because the interest rate on just the debt alone is over $1 trillion, which is more than anything, more than what we even pay on the military. So we're coming to a point where something's going to give. And the give is we can't print anymore. We can't endlessly print money. We've been doing it since Clinton. That's the last time this country had a surplus. Every year after that, it's been spending deficits. And it's rocketing up. Just go look at a chart. It's rocketing up, and it can't be stopped, because what do we do? Look at the big, beautiful bill. That adds $4 trillion more to the debt. So that's why, and that's just all I have to say. That's it.
Man, I said final thought. What the hell?
I'm sorry.
Aubrey, final thought.
Final lecture. Final podcast.
Final episode. Jesus Christ.
I'm gonna just leave y'all with, bears sound smart, but bulls make money. Like, I did the research, and the overlay of 2008 to now, it does look similar. And I did a little research, and let me just blow y'all mind away with this. So if you invested $1,000 in 2008 at the peak, right before the drop of the global financial crisis, that $1,000 right now will be worth $6,000 in today's money. Because yes, it did peak at, the stock market was at 1,565 for the S&P 500. The S&P 500 right now is over 6,200. So yes, there's going to be ups and downs, because that's how the stock market goes. But over time, because of how our system is built, capitalism grows on itself. And capitalism isn't the best, but communism definitely hasn't worked out well, because China doesn't even have a true communism. They have a capitalist communism. That's why Alibaba is able to operate there, right? So you got to understand, I think the biggest thing is it's human nature. And that's something we can't get away from, right? You say, well, we have homeless and we have all these things. Yes, because there's some people that naturally don't want to work that much. And that's their choice. I work in the medical field, and there's people that just don't want to eat healthy. They don't want to move. Okay? Well, if you don't eat healthy and you don't want to move, what happens is you get sick. That's just how the universe is, right? Because certain people just don't want to. And that's their choice. In capitalism, we give people a choice. Now, are there some places where, yeah, it's hard to get up off the ground? Yes, absolutely. But you got to really ask yourself, out of all the world, right, where there's places where people are born with no education opportunities, no food opportunities. Like I just went to Mexico City. There were 3-year-olds in the restaurants asking to buy chips and cookies to make money for their family. Literally, we bought this little girl a bag of churros because it was like, damn, this little girl's in here at 4 years old at like 11 o'clock at night. Now, you mean to tell me some kid growing up here in America, where everywhere you go, starting at kindergarten, you can get free education for 12 years, doesn't have a great chance? Are there things that are going to hinder you? Yeah, but some people just don't want to, okay? And that's cool. That's your choice, right? That's your choice if you want to live on the streets. That's your choice if you want to eat cookies and bonbons and sit on the couch all day. It gives you the choice. Now, what's going to happen is that there are laws in our universe that say if you do this, this happens. If you eat crappy and don't move, you get sick, diabetes, overweight, organ failure. That's what happens. It's nobody's fault. Now, yes, that's sad that it happens, and we try our best. It's just like the medical field. People say the medical field is broke. Well, to be honest, yeah, it's not the best because they don't treat it before it, but people just eat shitty and live shitty because guess what? It feels good. It feels good to eat, right, Pop-Tarts. It feels good to have Snickers bars all day, and it feels good to watch your phone all day and sit on your ass. It does feel good. It doesn't feel, it's good to eat spinach and salmon and water. It don't taste as good, but that's what our body needs. Just like capitalism. It don't feel good to wake up at 6 and go work until 5 o'clock at night and get home and have to make that paycheck and then do it all over again. It don't feel good, but guess what? That's what your future needs if you want to create freedom, house, safety, future. So I think that's the thing we got to understand. It's not the best, it's not perfect, but it's the best shot at what you want if you work it. Now, the capitalist system and the stocks, yes, there's some things that happen, but I think the average investor can make money if you invest in broad-based index fund for the long term consistently. I think you have a great shot at making money better than anything else. That's my opinion.
All right, guys. When the host says final thought, I'm going to need y'all to keep that around 60, 58 seconds or something like that. I'm joking. No, that was really good information. I told y'all I was going to shut the hell up, let these guys go at it. That's a lot of good. I mean, we can go another like 2 hours. It's just so deep. What are going to be the consequences of 37 trillion? What are going to be the consequences for not covering the movies you pointed out? I mean, we're gonna have to get some more info, and I'll put it like in the caption on our page just so people can kind of deep dive a little bit more. We're definitely going to talk about this again. So, again, follow us on social media, comments, likes. If you got any questions for us, again, we got the social medias. You can reach out there. But appreciate y'all listening in. These two guys, this is crazy, man. I'm tired, bro. I'm tired. Hey, we'll check y'all next time.
Peace.